doing, man?
Good, bro. Good.
For sure. How was the vacation?
Oh yeah, everything was good, man. Yeah, yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, hey, I'm doing good as well, man. Glad to be here once again, and I'm looking forward to talking about accountability and also talking about how we can apply that with our finances.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No doubt. No doubt. No doubt. Tell the people what you got going on, man.
So right now, man, I'm in Fort Huachuca, Arizona. I'm inside a barracks room right now. So for those out there watching, I apologize, for the setup. But man, well, I got my board results, for recommendation for a promotion to sergeant first class. And,
Hey.
out of all of the signals intelligence analyst, which is what I am, a 35 November staff sergeant, 153 of us were in this board. Bro, I was number 4 out of
Oh,
153. So,
dang.
man, just excited, grateful, thankful, to be at the top of that list. Like I thought I would be top 10 for sure.
Yeah.
But to see that like 4 out of 153, man,
That's
it
a
really was mind blowing.
that's legit.
So thank you, appreciate it, man. So I'm here at Fort Huachuca at the senior leaders course. I'll be here until July 3rd, and then I will actually get promoted to sergeant first class in November, man. So that's what I have going on right now, and I'm just excited, man.
Man, that was up, man. That was up.
For sure, man. So what about you, man? Anything new, anything special, that you would like to talk about, tell the audience before we go into accountability?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's an awesome topic, man. And speaking of being accountable, one thing I'm working on is trying to start up a Discord,
For
to have
sure.
more of a community, kind of post trades, communicate with other people, to really hold each other accountable to this investing
For
stuff. So
sure.
that's something that I'm also working on right now.
I think that's a great idea, man. I think you should do it. And hey, I'm already locked in with the channel, so I'm definitely gonna be locked in when you get that Discord up and running, man.
Yes, sir.
And also I think it's needed, man, especially for someone like me because I'm still learning. I'm still on my trading journey. I'm still watching the videos you put out. I still watch a few other people and try to learn from several different resources. I'm still getting some wins, but I'm still taking some losses as well, so that accountability definitely would help me out.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You got to pay your tuition in the game.
For sure, for sure, for sure. But what I can say is at first I would get frustrated when I took a loss, but now I don't really get frustrated because I know exactly what I did wrong. And
Hmm.
and especially if it's something I've already done, I'm like, okay, Martinez, you can't keep doing this. You already know what happened last time you did this. So I don't really even get frustrated with it no more, man. It's just like, okay, let me take a step back and let me go back to the drawing board. Let me figure out how to get the money back. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh yeah, and then once you have
yeah,
like a system in place, man, as far as the topic of accountability, journaling. So
for
like,
sure.
but once you kind of have a system on how to place a trade, like you can journal like, okay, I took this trade, I saw this setup, did I follow my rules?
For
How was
sure.
I feeling emotionally? You
For
know,
sure.
and that's something like I kind of dabbled in, but like I know going into next year, like I'm really gonna get heavy into that and like really hold myself accountable to my trading.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's important, man. And I think that's good, man. So, with that being said, like, what is accountability to you and why is it something that you want to talk about?
Yeah, man. I just think accountability is like the foundation of life, and like progressing through life,
For
because
sure.
if you're not accountable, you'll be stagnant.
Right.
But if you have accountability at the forefront, like success is limitless.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. For sure. And man, I would like to add to that and say when you are not accountable, you give the power, the control, and the responsibility to others.
Yeah.
And, I think to go back to what you said, like when you are accountable for your actions, it opens up doors that other people can't close because you're
Mhm.
not giving them that power. You're not giving them that responsibility. You're taking charge. So I like that, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is accountability something that you feel like is just as important when it comes down to finances as it is on the job or as a parent or as a coach? Do you feel like it's just as important in all of those different areas of life?
Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely. It's definitely a staple, I would say. Like accountability and discipline go hand in hand, you know.
Absolutely.
Um, there is no discipline without accountability, and you know, there is no accountability without discipline. And
That's
the same
good.
thing where you're talking about finances, you know, sticking to a budget, you know, sticking to an investment plan, you know, we talking about family, like being a good husband, leader, you know,
Right.
wife, mother, you know what I mean?
For sure.
So, in at the workplace too, man, like you don't get promoted without having some sort of self accountability,
That's true.
you know?
That's true. Absolutely. For sure. No, I like that, man. And, I think that accountability is important with leadership, you know, and leadership, again, it applies in all of those areas. It applies at home for us who are parents, it applies in the workplace, it applies in the educational space. And I think that accountability starts with those who are in charge. Like if you're in charge and you lack accountability, how can you expect someone who is under your supervision to be accountable? And so for me, accountability, not only is it one thing that I love to work on for myself, it is something that I look for people that I'm on the same team with, because I know I'm going to pull my weight. I know I'm going to be a team player. Are you going to pull your weight? Are you going to be a team player? If you do something wrong, are you going to raise your hand and say, yes, I did that? Now, how can we fix that? Because that's what I look for. If I do something wrong, I'll be the first one to say, I'm sorry, I messed it up, or, I overslept. I couldn't make, whatever the case is, accountability is important.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, man. Let me hop in and ask you a question.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah. Um, have you had a season in life where you lacked accountability, and what did that look like for you?
I did, man. And it's funny because this is always the first thing that comes to mind when I think of a time I lacked accountability. Because let me be real, when you ask me that question, the first thing I want to say is, nah, man, I feel like I always been accountable. But
Yeah.
then, it's somebody on my shoulder. They be like, hold on, Martinez, you remember that one time? So for me, bro, it was junior high football. Like, and I might have touched on this last time, but man, I love football. We all did. Like, I don't know anybody who was in our group who did not love football, right? And my natural position was defensive back. Like, I wasn't tall, but I could cover a receiver, I could jump, and I had good catching skills. So we were in practice one day, and the DBs and the receivers were all running routes. The coaches, I guess, wanted to see who could catch. So even though I knew I wanted to be DB, I was catching all the passes. And Coach McCombs, he saw me. Bunch of people kept saying, man, Martinez catching everything. So Coach McCombs came to the line where I was at. He started throwing the passes. He wasn't throwing the ball to me. He was throwing the ball in all kind of places on the field. I guess he wanted to see if I was going to go get it. I caught every pass. At the end of practice, Coach Newton came up to me. He said, hey, Martinez, from now on, you're going to train with the receivers. I didn't want to be a receiver, bro. I wanted to be a DB.
Yeah.
So he told me that, and I was like, okay, coach. Next day of practice, I went over there with the DBs. Coach Newton, Martinez, where's Martinez? So, okay, so, the whole season went by. Coach, he kept telling me, like, listen, you're going to play receiver. I didn't want to play receiver. And when I did finally go over there with the receivers, I would drop passes. I would run the wrong route. I would just act like I was completely lost in the sauce. But then I went home and I was telling everybody, like, man, these coaches won't give me no playing time. They don't like me. Like, it's a favoritism thing. I wasn't being accountable, man, for my actions.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't, because even though I wanted to play DB, the coach was like, I want you over here, Martinez. But
Hmm.
I didn't want to do that, right? So I wasn't accountable. And I was putting the blame on the coaches. I was putting the blame on others, and as I got older, I didn't realize this back then. Like I didn't realize it the next year, 2 years later. I didn't realize it. But as I got older, as I became more responsible, and as I really truly learned what accountability was, every time I look back, that was the season in which I was not accountable. And how did it look? I didn't get what I wanted. I didn't get the playing time. I didn't get the position I wanted. And because I wasn't accountable, I ended up giving up on something that I truly love, man.
Hmm. That's deep right there, man. And
Yeah,
it made me
man.
think about how many times, the most high director somewhere we don't listen or we don't take accountability.
Woo!
Like,
That's true. That's true. It's like we always want what we want, but we don't always want to do what it takes to get what we want, man. So
exactly.
yeah, that's good, man. That's good.
Exactly.
And so what about you, man? Was there a time, when you lacked accountability in a particular season, and how did that look for you?
Mm, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one right there. You can always point to certain seasons in life, man.
Right.
Um, I think for me, like, people will look at my track record and be like, oh, Paul's successful, doctorate
Yeah.
degree, successful stock investor, this and the third. I'm at the point where I can just about retire my wife if she want to stop working. She pretty much can, you know what I
That's
mean?
what's up. Yeah.
Um, but even through all that, man, like even something as simple as like health and fitness. Like, you know what I mean? Because like
Right.
there was a point in time where I was just grinding, working two, three jobs at a time, eating wherever I wanted. Went and got a checkup. Doctor was like, "Oh, you borderline this, you borderline that."
Yeah.
And I was like, I made all these excuses, man, all these excuses. But then I really had to take a step back, and this was just a couple years ago. I had to really take a step back and be like, and reevaluate like my diet, like how often I was working out, and then like stop making excuses and just realizing that, oh, I say I don't have time. And then my wife has really um helped me out through this season, right? Because she told me, she was like, you working a lot, but on your free time, you're not busy.
Right.
You acting like you're busy, but you're not busy.
Right.
And at
That's
first I didn't
tough.
want to hear that. That's
Right.
tough. You're like, man, I'm the man, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You know what I
Right.
mean? But then it's like I
Right.
really evaluated myself. I said, no, yeah, I'm kind of tripping a little bit, sitting watching
Right.
TV over here, playing video games over here. Like that's an hour or two.
Yeah.
I could be in the gym somewhere,
For sure.
and like I don't have to eat the cheeseburger at work. Like I can
Right.
take my lunch. Like it's just
Right.
little stuff like that, man.
Right.
And so I'm happy to say like, all my lab work and all that kind of stuff good, drop weight, back in the gym consistently. So I'm all good now, but I will say that's probably one of my biggest, because like to be where we came from so active and like, you're still active
Right.
with your line of work, but
Right.
when you kind of get out of high school, nobody's pushing you. Nobody's
Right.
telling you to work out. Nobody's telling you to eat this. You-
Right.
And so just going from that structure to having to be accountable for it, like I wasn't doing it,
Right.
but I had to get back on track, man.
For sure. Hey, that's deep, man. And especially to have the wife tell you, like, nah, bro, you tripping. Like
It's hard to
that.
listen and then to listen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, man. That brings me to another point that I was gonna bring up later, but the importance of having other people around us to hold us accountable.
Mhm.
Because, self accountability is one thing. We all need to be able to hold ourselves accountable. But I also think it's important to have people around us who hold us accountable as well. So, what would you say about self accountability and then also having others hold us accountable as well? Why do we need both?
Yeah. So definitely self accountability is the main thing. Like that is first and foremost. Like, because nobody else can make you happy. Nobody can direct your life but you, right? So like
Right.
you have to start with the self accountability. But you also have to have that discernment between what's good advice from somebody who's really trying to help you and
That's true.
progress through life. Because there's a difference in advice now. Some people
Yeah,
really just be hating,
that's true.
but you really have to discern like, all right, who's giving the message and what are they really trying to say?
That's true.
And you have to be vulnerable enough to accept it because nobody really wants to accept criticism.
For sure.
Like, it's not really natural for us to want to accept criticism. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Especially if you didn't ask for it or anything like that. So,
Yeah.
I think it's highly important to just be receptive, always be coachable.
For sure.
Like a better
That's
word.
good.
Yeah.
That's good, man. That's good. Well, hey, you know me, man. I'm always ready to go with the next one, but this is a team effort. We gotta
Mhm.
go back and forth. So let me pump my brakes, man, and let's get back in some of your questions.
Yeah, man. Let's see. Let's see. Who's someone in your life that has held you accountable, and how did that impact you?
Wow. I have to say it was my military family life counselor, and her
Hmm.
name is Miss Virginia, man.
Okay.
Older Hispanic lady, and man, nicest, sweetest lady ever. But man, she didn't play the radio. Like when I first went to her, and this is gonna help a lot of men because we don't like to talk about counseling. We don't like to talk about therapy. As men, we oftentimes don't want to buy into something like that. But I was going through something in my life, man. Like I had deployed, I had went through a breakup, I had went through an injury, I had went through bad financial. See, it seemed like everything that could go wrong had went wrong. And I finally got to a point to where I felt like I needed some help. Like I felt like I needed some therapy, some counseling, not to work out a relationship, not to get somebody back, but I felt like I needed it for myself, man. And actually both of the counselors and therapists that I worked with at two different times, because the first one told me, she said, you can show up for everybody but yourself. You know how to love everybody but yourself. She said you're a great father, you're a phenomenal soldier, you do so many things. She said, but you don't know how to love Martinez.
Mm.
She brought me to tears, man. And she
Yeah,
said
man.
she took it a step further, and she said no matter how great of a father you are, until you can learn how to love yourself and show up for yourself, you can't be the best father that you want to be for your children.
Mm.
Man, that lady brought me to tears, man. And she said, listen, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. She said, I'm your biggest cheerleader. She said, but I'm also going to tell you when you're doing wrong. And so she held me accountable. And then Miss Virginia, my second counselor, she held me accountable because I would talk to her about things that I would not share with anybody.
Mhm.
And when she felt like I was right in a situation, she would tell me. Or when she saw my point of view, she would tell me. But when she felt like I was wrong, or she felt like I was the bad guy in that situation, she would tell me, like, nah, Martinez, I don't agree with that. You shouldn't have said that. You were wrong for that. Like, that was a very ugly thing to say. And so, having somebody who is not a friend, who is not a family member, a person you're not in a relationship with. Like, this is a professional who
Mhm.
has studied and earned degrees to be in this position. To have that person hold you accountable, man, I cannot. I don't think I would be the man I am today if I had not went through counseling with those two particular women at those two different times in my life, man. That was very critical for me.
Yeah, man, that's deep right there, man.
I'm sorry, man. I wasn't trying to, go too deep, but I just had to be real, man.
Yeah, man. No, it's good, man. Cause the people need to hear that, man. Because that is a sensitive topic for a lot of people. And like, I'm in the medical field. I'm a physical therapist, but
For sure.
like, I don't even see myself going to counseling.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
through my struggles, my counselor ended up being my wife, and like that
For
can be
sure.
hard. That can be hard for people.
Yeah.
The relationship my wife has is very respectful.
Right.
She definitely looks at me like the leader of the household, and it's
That's what's
not
up.
any kind of like I boss her around. It's nothing like that. Nothing
For
like that.
sure.
It's definitely like a king queen situation. Like
For sure.
I may be the ruler on paper, but she really making
Yeah.
all the decisions behind the scenes. I know the
For
game. I
sure.
know the
For
game.
sure. For sure.
I might be the head, but she's the neck turning them up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey,
But
you know what though, man? I really commend you, bro, because I believe that, and to see, like, just to see how you and your wife command and welcome me into y'all home when I came, how she came and introduced herself, how y'all both, tried to make sure that I was comfortable. to see y'all record together, to talk about investing together, and then for you to be in that position right now to say, I can retire my wife right now. I commend you on that, man,
Yeah.
because that is, man, that's next level stuff, man. That for those of y'all who don't know, we only, in our 30s, our early 30s
Early
at that.
30s. Yeah.
31, so
Yeah.
for my guy to say that, man, that's really major, man. So I salute you on that, man.
Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate
For
it.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What else you got in the bag over there, man? I know you got some other good questions.
Yeah, man. Um, Kind of on more the financial side, when did you
Let's
realize
do
it
it.
was a good idea to be more intentional with your finances?
When I was a kid, man, I always wanted to make some money, and I would always save it for something. But the moment I had enough to go get that thing I wanted, I would spend it. And
Hmm.
so, when I became a teenager, when I started working in high school, if I needed a down payment for a car, I would save it. But as soon as I saved that, it was all gone because I spent it for that down payment.
Yeah.
So I think I started to slowly learn as a teenager, like, okay, if I'm saving up for a pair of shoes or, for something, that's cool. I need to save that $100, that $150. But that can't be all the money I'm saving. So then I tried to establish a savings account in general. And then I tried to have like something specific. And then as I got older, man, as I became when I got into my first serious relationship and when I had my first child, Melody, I was married once before, for those out there who don't know. And there was a particular time when I wasn't only responsible for myself, I became responsible for another person and a child. So that's when I really realized, like, okay, I definitely have to be more accountable with my finances because there are other people who depend on me now. I have to pay a apartment, I have to pay rent now, I have to pay a light bill now, I had to pay insurance for two vehicles and then even her car note. So those situations, I feel like that kind of forced me to have to be accountable financially.
Mhm.
But there was another season when I knew I didn't feel like I was being forced to do it. I wanted to do it because it was like, okay, I don't want to live check to check.
Yeah.
I don't want to just have enough to pay my bills. And when I started feeling like that, I knew like there has to be more I could do to hold myself accountable instead of waiting until I get put in these adverse situations.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel you on that. I feel you on that.
For sure.
Um,
What about you, man? What was that thing that made you realize you needed to be more financially accountable?
for me, just kind of like the little bit of struggles I kind of went through like in college. Because that's kind of when I got introduced to investing. But like just how I was living in college, how like, now if I was down that bad, I definitely could have pulled up at the parents' house. They would have fed me stuff like that. But
Right, right.
I didn't want to ask for anything. And so
Exactly.
like there were a couple times where, you know, I chose to pay my rent versus, getting myself something to eat. I probably went to
Right.
bed hungry, you know what I mean? But
Right.
like just to be in that kind of situation and like money was tight, man. I was still working. I've always had two, three jobs. Even in the position I am financially now, I still have two jobs.
That's what's up.
I'm trying not to work. Like I'm technically part time, but
Yeah,
I still have two. I hold two different part time jobs.
that's what's up.
One of them I try not to go to too much, but
Yeah,
all my friends over there, so I go to it anyway. But
I feel that.
uh, but to me, like just that feeling of like kind of being at the bottom. I'm
Right.
like, man, I really don't. It don't feel good. It don't feel
It
good.
doesn't.
So like, I just knew I wanted more than that. But also too, like with the degree I pursued, I had a pretty good salary once I finally graduated,
Right.
right? But what really got me was seeing how my bosses were living. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so some always say your boss is never gonna pay you enough to live beside them.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, just kind of this pursuit of, hey, I just want a little bit more, not to be greedy or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but why can't I have that?
For sure.
Why can't that also be my life?
For
you know,
sure.
and just not settling for less.
For sure. Hey, that's good, man. That's good. I thought back to something while you were talking right there, and
Yeah.
it goes back to the same question, but there was a time when I went to college a year after we graduated high school. I
Mhm.
went to Nashville Auto Diesel College up in Nashville.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I didn't stay long. I only stayed for a few months. I was doing good academically, but I wasn't getting the training as far as being in the shop. I wasn't getting the training that I felt like a future automotive technician should be getting. And then the tuition was expensive. So I was like, man, I can't stay up here for 16 months just to go in all this debt and not really feel qualified to go hold a position like this. So I ended up coming home, man. And I started back working. I was actually working while I was in college. I got up there June, July. Within 2 to 3 weeks, I had a job. I was in class from like 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. and I worked from like 11:30 at night to like 3 in the morning in a FedEx warehouse. I would work 20 to 25 hours a week. But then when I came back home, I didn't have a job for like 2, 3 weeks, and it felt like a long time. But I remember, man, I had started back working, and I had started back saving me a little money, because you know how sometimes you just have those setbacks or those times when you have to start over. Like, and I've gone back to zero several times, right? So for those out there who are listening, like, don't just think that because we look like we got it or we talk about finances, don't think that we haven't touched zero several times, because I've been back to rock bottom a few times, right? But this particular time, man, I had $750, and it it wasn't really a whole lot, but it was something, right?
Right.
Well, I was on my way home from work, and this big deer ran out in front of my car,
Mm.
ran in front of the bumper, and messed up the bumper and broke one of the tail lights. So I was riding around, not tail light, headlight. I was only riding around with the passenger side headlight for about a week or two, because I was waiting on my next check so that I could put the rest of the money with that to get the car fixed. Well, I won't say, who I went to, but I went to this one particular person at the time, and I was like, listen, can I just borrow $100? And, this particular person was like, man, y'all always want money. Y'all always want my money. All I got is $25. And he slammed it on the counter. And I really needed the bread. Like, I needed the bread, because after I paid to get the car fixed, I just needed some money in my pocket until I got my next check. I needed a haircut, I needed gas, and I needed to be able to buy me some light bread and some bologna. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, he said, man, here, this all I got. And I just remember how I felt in that moment. I remember how I felt having to rely on somebody else to loan me a few dollars. And I was like, nah, I can't ever feel like this again. And that was the last time I ever had to borrow some money from anybody. And I was 19 years old at that time. I'm 31 now. You feel me? So, not saying I'm rich, not saying I haven't had my struggles, because I have. But that was the last time I had to borrow some money from somebody, man. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that, man.
Yeah, and I feel in the to build on that, we understand what the struggle feel like. I had made a post where I don't know, I had some slight, like I had made like 4,000 or something in a week, and I had
Yeah.
just posted it right on TikTok. This person just commented like, "Oh, all of us don't have money like that," and and I didn't really get into it. But I'm
Yeah.
like, man, if you just really know where I came from, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like I understand the struggle, man. I've
Right.
been there.
For
I know what
sure.
it feel like to overdraft the account. I
For
know what it
sure.
feel like not to have food. Like I
For
know what it
sure.
feel like to just sleep on an air mattress. Like, you know
For
what I
sure.
mean? Like
That's what's
I
up,
know
man.
what it feel like to just about live out your car. 'Cause I about did
Yep.
that in grad school. Like, you know
Yep.
what I mean? Like, come on.
Yep. For sure. I think, man, the difference between us and a lot of people, we didn't become victims, and
No.
we became accountable. We
Yep.
took accountability for our actions. We became more responsible. If we had to work a second job or a third job, we did that, because like you said, even now, like, the military is not my only source of income. Like, I'm invested in stocks as well.
Yeah.
I'm trading now because I've been listening to my guy Paul for the last year. So I'm trading now. In addition to that, man, me and my son been cutting grass in the neighborhood. We've been moving furniture out of people's houses, like anything honest
Yeah.
that we've had the time to do, man. We get into it, man, because it's like one source of income is not always enough. And then even when that is enough, when you want to invest, when you want to retire your wife, like Paul said, when you want to set your kids up and set generations up, well, you have to have multiple sources of income, man. So, hey, that's good, man. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, I would say, one source of income too close to zero. You know what
That's
I mean?
good. That's good.
For real.
That's good, man. That's good. So let me see. Let's see. So what is financial accountability, right? Like we both talking about how we have it, but what are some things that people out there can do to have some financial accountability?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Um, because a lot of people get caught up in, you know, being, chasing financial freedom is a hard thing to do. You have to start somewhere. You have
That's
to
right.
start. It's either one day or day one.
That's right.
You feel me? So the first thing before you even invest is to sit down and create a budget.
Absolutely.
See where your dollars are going, first and foremost. All right. Once you kind of get that in order, like, all right, what are my debts? Like, list them all out. List
Hmm.
them all out. List them out by the interest rate too. And then I would start with a Dave Ramsey snowball method.
For sure.
Pretty much that is, you paying minimum payments on everything, but then on one bill you're attacking it with everything else
Yep.
you got. You
That's
know,
right.
do that, get that out of the way. And so once you get your bills out the way, and like you kind of left with the big stuff like your mortgage and stuff like
For
that.
sure.
You know, but then now you can invest. So now you get the brokerage account, the
Hmm.
individual brokerage account, so you can take money in and out.
For
You
sure.
the Roth account, it's tax protected and it's for retirement. Then you set up a premium savings account. That way, that money you have in there gains a little bit of interest when it's not working on anything. But then I think the big thing with that is to automate it. So automate your deposits.
Right.
A lot of people don't do that. So and then also just
Yeah.
kind of getting a community, just
For
finding a
sure.
community of like-minded individuals, and then just attacking the game.
I think that part is everything he said is everything you said is very important. It definitely starts with the budget. That would be the first thing I would say too. Cause I remember when I first started my budget, I remember just sitting at that kitchen table, man, just banging it out. And, I used to listen to Dave Ramsey as well. I've heard people say every dollar counts. And
Mhm.
then I've also heard people say every penny counts. Like that's
Facts.
really next level, but that's true. And then that last part about having a community, that's extremely important, man, because like oftentimes, man, when you grow up in an environment where nobody talked about investing, nobody talked about a Roth IRA or a high yield savings account, oftentimes you're like, what is that? So
Mhm.
then when you start trying to do those things, they say if you hang with five broke people, you're going to be the sixth.
Yeah.
So they say if you hang with five rich people, you're going to be the sixth. So if you
Facts.
want to save some money and you want to have some financial accountability, that community is extremely important, man. For real.
Exactly. No doubt. No doubt.
For sure.
That's what we're trying to do, man. Just build a little community, man. Just I'm blessed. I say that, but I'm just trying to bring other people with me along this journey, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Do you feel like you've encountered any resistance? Like, have you had people try to come at you and they just assume that you were born this way or like it was easy for you? Do you ever, get any kind of resistance in those ways?
Um, I've definitely, heard that a time or two, like just coming along, especially academic wise. 'Cause I was one of those top of the class kind of people.
Right.
But I still worked hard too. Now a lot of
I
stuff didn't
agree.
come natural. I will
Yeah,
say that. Like the way my mind worked, a lot of stuff just clicks.
for sure.
But there's still a degree of working hard that still is still with that.
Absolutely.
And so even on the academia side, like, yes, I've heard that like, oh, these things just come easy to you. You're smart, you're borderline, genius, whatever, which I'm not. But um yeah, even on the financial side, like I'm trying to show people and bring people along with this investing stuff, and then some people will make statements. Oh, I don't got that Paul money. I don't got
Yeah,
like, well,
yeah,
if you want to call it that, I'm trying to help you get some.
yeah. For sure, for sure. You know, man, that's good, man. I've encountered some things like that as well. Not necessarily, maybe some of that with the finances as well, because I've heard people say like, "Man, I want a house like what you got."
Yeah,
I'm trying to have three cars like you. But
yeah,
hold on though, like you may want what I have, or you may want the things that you see, but you don't want the work that comes with that. You don't want all those hours that we put in. You
hmm
don't want to put in all those academic hours that it took for my guy to become a doctor. Like you may say you want to, but do you really want to? But in
don't.
the military, man, like I've encountered I've encountered that a lot in the military because I've had a great career, man. I fast tracked to every rank pretty much. I fast tracked, and I've had a lot of people say things like, "Oh, they must be giving the promotions out now." You know, who that helped you? And I'm like, hold on, bro. I did all of this the hard way.
Yeah,
I did all of this honestly.
hmm
Like I didn't, I'm not in no good old boy system and people just promoting me because I'm paying my dues. Nah, I work hard for this. You know what I'm saying? So
hmm
how do you deal with that, man? When you work hard to be in a certain position and you're trying to help people and then people try to throw salt on you. How do you deal with that?
Man, you just look at what the Most High went through, man.
That's
You know
true.
what I mean?
For sure.
And they do it to him. What you
For
think happened
sure.
to you?
For
And
sure.
I will say this, man. I just thought about this. So oftentimes people want to compare themselves to other people, right? And I just thought about this. You got to be careful with comparison because you may be comparing a place where the Most High have you versus
Mm.
somebody else where the devil may have them.
Oh man, can you say that one more time, man? That's deep. Listen, we got to make that a short. When you say that again, we gonna need to run that one back. That was man. Say
Yeah.
that one more time.
Yeah, man. So just hearing this and hearing this convo, man, just be careful with comparison because you may be comparing where the Most High have you with where the devil has somebody else.
Man, that's a mic drop moment right there, man.
You know,
That's deep, man.
you gotta be
That's
careful
deep.
with that. You gotta be careful with that because you might be where you're supposed to be right now for your
Yeah.
season of life.
I also want to add to that and say somebody else's best could be your worst.
Hmm
Somebody else's top could be your bottom. So like when if you're in a competition and your only goal is to lift more weight than the guy next to you, you only need to lift 1 pound more. You
Right.
only need to lift 5 pounds more. And if that's all you shooting for, that's probably all you're going to accomplish.
hmm
But if you go in with the mindset that I just want to do the best I could do, I want to lift the most amount of weight I could lift, you could probably lift 50 pounds more than that guy. You could probably lift 100 pounds. And so that's deep, man. That's wow. That's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep
Yeah. No
for
doubt.
sure.
No doubt. Let's see. What I was gonna ask you. Let's see. What kind of scriptures do you have relating to accountability? What
For
you
sure. I wrote down a couple of things, man, and it's not by surprise that my first one comes from Proverbs. That's my favorite book in the Bible, always has
Mhm.
been. But Proverbs 27 and 17, and it says, iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. Now, for those out there listening, obviously it doesn't particularly or specifically say accountability. But when I read this scripture, I think there is some accountability in that. Iron sharpens iron. So that means if you want to sharpen that, it has to be dependent on something. It has to have something that's holding it accountable. And it's the same way with friends. And we talked about having people around us who hold us accountable as well. That could be our wives, that could be our parents. And so for me, that's one of those scriptures, man. I feel like when I read it, I feel like it hints at accountability and I
Yeah.
feel like it gives us some insight onto the importance of having that.
Yeah.
And what about you, man? I do have one more, but I want to see, what you
Yeah,
have, and then I'll share my other one.
yeah. I picked one from one that I really like from Ecclesiastes. It say two are better than one, and if
Mm,
either falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up.
that's good.
You know,
That's good
they're just keeping your brother accountable right there. You know, and just
for sure.
having somebody to help you, man, is so important through this life. It's hard to do this thing alone.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And man, my second one it comes from Luke chapter 12, verse 48, and it's not the entire verse. It's only part of the verse, but part of the verse says, "For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall much be required." And it's so funny, man, because I'm sure we've all heard that quote, "To
Yeah,
whom much is given, much is required."
yeah,
And oftentimes, like unless you've read that scripture, for a long time, I didn't know that that was in the Bible. I just thought that was something that people were saying. But to whom much is given, much is required. And so there's accountability in that. Like, yes, there are things in place that hold us accountable because guess what? If you don't pay that mortgage, somebody on the other side ready to take that deed from you, somebody ready to take them keys from you. But if you want to live in this place, if you want to provide this place for your family, you have to pay that mortgage. You have to pay that insurance. And so every time I think about, because I have my days, man, like I'm grateful for all that we have.
hmm
And then there are times when I'm like, man, I'm tired of paying this mortgage, or I'm tired of paying this, I'm tired of paying that.
yeah,
Then I'm like, hold on, bro, you asked for this stuff. You
yeah,
know, you prayed to the Most High to help you get this stuff.
yes.
So to whom much is given, much is required. For real, man.
No doubt. Yeah,
For
man.
sure. Do you have another scripture, man, that you would like to share about accountability?
My other one was actually the one from Proverbs, man. So
That's what's
you
up.
took my other one.
That's
You know,
what's
they say
up.
great minds think alike.
Hey, that's true, man. That's true. That's true. Let me see. I do have I got two more questions, man, if we
Yeah,
had the time. And if you got anything else, I'm free, man. It's only 5:45 my time.
yeah.
So one, I would say, how did your outlook on things change when you became more accountable in any area of your life? Like, how did your outlook change when you made accountability become a value in your life?
Yeah, that's a good one. So kind of going back to like that the health scare, I call it the health scare, right? Like it was a couple years ago. And a lot of that was, I was in a supervisor position at my other therapy job, and just balancing a lot, still had another job on the side, trying to invest, just trying to be in all places all at one time. The job
Right,
demanding so much, but trying to be in all places at one time, man. And, just sitting in the doctor's office and her telling me like, you're close to having XYZ here and this and that. And I'm like, what?
right.
And like, I kind of came home, had a little pity party, and I was trying to make excuses for everything. But I will say about 2 years ago, man, that's when I kind of almost become obsessed with self improvement, right? Just realizing that no, like you are where you are in life based off the series of choices you made prior.
That's good.
Whether it's financially, whether it's health wise, spiritually, like a lot of these things are not other people's fault. And even if it is, it might be, but it's on you if you stay in that spot.
I agree.
You know? So I think that's what really got me. And like I've always been a motivated person, but I kind of, internally motivated. But you kind of get to a certain point of success and like you kind of coast. But I think
Right,
that was like the kick in the butt that really got me going again.
right.
Grinding hard in every aspect of life now.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah.
For me, man, I would say I started seeing everything as a me problem.
hmm
Like when I took accountability, even looking back to when I was 12 or 13 in the seventh grade, it wasn't the coach's fault. It was my fault. And when I started seeing everything as, even if it was somebody else's fault, nah, Martinez, it's your fault. You messed up. You did wrong. You shouldn't have been there. When I started taking accountability, man, I stopped expecting so much from others. I stopped looking for the things that I thought I deserved, and I started expecting the things that I knew I worked for. Because a lot of times, man, people think that we get in life what we deserve. You don't always get what you deserve. You get what you work for. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So that's how my outlook changed, man, when I became accountable and started focusing on accountability in my life.
Oh yeah. That's good. That's good right there. Yeah. What else you got, bro?
My last question, man, is how do you deal with team members or people in the workplace who lack accountability for their actions?
Man, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one right there, because you will you will face that at one point in time in your life. Like, I don't care who you are, you gonna
For
face that.
sure.
The best you can do, man, is just, you know, try to point out what's going on and try to come from a place of love, and and trying to nurture. But like, sometimes people aren't receptive to that.
Hmm.
Because like I said earlier, like, a lot of people don't want to be criticized, but also like just trying to talk to people, in private about a situation
For
that's
sure.
like that, or just trying to show them um, what the proper behavior look like, and lead by example.
For sure.
Because whether it's work related, and like somebody may not be pulling their weight, and then they might look at you and be like, "Oh, you got what you got because you know somebody," or this, that, and the third. Like, no, just really talk to them and show them, like, "Hey, no, I'm doing X, Y, Z." Just show them the receipts.
For
Sometimes you
sure.
have to show people the receipts to get them on board.
Mm, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that, man. I've been in those situations as well in the military, and sometimes it's been with soldiers who I'm responsible for. Sometimes it's to, someone who is my peer. And like you said, man, when you do have those conversations, you have to try to come from a place to where they can receive it. And even when you come from the best place you know how, sometimes they still don't receive it. And
Mhm.
we can't control how they respond to it or how they receive it. But it's tough, man, when you have people in the workplace who don't want to be accountable or who are not accountable, because it's like, man, nobody put a gun to our head and made us be here. If you here, it's because you put in an application or it's because you signed a contract. Like,
Yeah.
nobody drags you out of bed every day. So you choose to be here, so with that, pull your weight, man. And for me, man, I've had to learn how to not be so harsh at times, because sometimes, man, like, I could just not be empathetic at all, not show any empathy or not sympathize at all. But I've learned that's something I've had to work on, man,
Oh yeah, no doubt, no
for
doubt.
sure.
That's
Do
a
you
good.
have anything else, man, that you would like to touch on about accountability? Any questions or anything?
Yeah, man. I think that's all I got, man. That's all I got.
Okay,
This was a
for
good
sure.
conversation, man.
For sure. I agree, man. So what is one takeaway for yourself, for this accountability conversation?
Man, just definitely just trying to see, like, I think something for me, I'm just trying to see how I can help build community. Cause I think,
For
like,
sure.
whether it's finances or just, it don't even have to be about finance, but just trying to build a community. And like, that's what I'm trying to do with my YouTube channel and stuff. Just build community, and just being there for other people, man. Just because, like, I just feel like it's something in me, man. I just want to help others. Like,
For
I
sure.
don't want to charge. I don't want to have any paid courses or anything. Like, I'm legit out here trying to help people, man. So
For
like,
sure.
that's what I'm trying to do. Just remain accountable, and like, I really want to. Cause I know what having a community does for me, and I want to be able to create that for other people.
For sure.
Yeah.
Hey, that's amazing, man. And
How
I
about
say do
yourself,
it.
bro?
For me, man, one of my takeaways is what you said. Like, stop comparing yourself to others, because, a place where the Most High may have you, the devil could have somebody else in that same place. Or vice versa. Like, the Most High could have them in that place and the devil could have you in that place.
Hmm.
But comparison, man, comparing yourself to others. Somebody said to me one time, comparing yourself to others leads to self destruction. And that's my takeaway. Don't compare myself to anybody where they may be in their journey. Not in the financial space, not in the marriage space. And I would say that to everybody else out there as well. Don't compare yourself to other people. The gifts that you've been given may not be the same as somebody else. The things you're good at, it's not the same as somebody else. The life that you have, the cards you've been dealt, it's not the same as somebody else, man. You have to take what you have, you have to take what you've been given, and you have to take accountability on that, man. Those are my takeaways, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For sure. Well, hey, listen, man, I enjoyed this. I know we're going to follow up once we get off the air. I know you'll get this thing edited, man, and I look forward to the next one, man.
Oh yeah, me too, man.
For
I hear
sure.
this, man.
For sure. Well, hey, man, I appreciate it, man. And for those out there listening and watching, y'all make sure y'all continue to tune in to Breakthrough Finance. Tune in to my channel as well. I'm not putting out as many videos on YouTube right now, but I have started back slowly working on the podcast. And actually, my wife and I have the first episode set to drop on June 11th. So for those out there listening, again, like and subscribe to Paul's channel, like and subscribe, to my channel as well,
Yeah,
and
and
reach out.
I'll put your channel in the description of the video.
Okay, for sure. I appreciate you.
Mhm.
Like, subscribe, leave your comments, and reach out to us if you have any questions or any feedback.
All right.
All
Until
right,
next
man.
time, y'all.
I'll catch you next time, bro.
All right.